Yeah. Hey guys, how are you? This is Otto from idazone.com, and I have here Dr. Taos. I met Dr. Taos a couple of years ago in an open mic event in one of our the pubs close to the city in Brandwick. And today we just want to introduce you to Dr. Taos and what Dr. Taos is doing right now. So how are you? Are you Dr. Taos?
Yes, I am. I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. It's hard to call you by that name because I have always called you, from your first name. And
Real.
yeah, yeah. So why Dr. Taos?
TAOS is my initials, and then I was getting a website set up, and the only way I could get a website name was to put the doctor in front of it.
All right. Okay. So it's so funny because actually yesterday I was reading this thing. It's a really old book, like I don't know, like 200 years before BC, and the name is something Taos, and this guy I think he talks more about spiritual stuff. I'm not really sure about what the book is about, but because I've been reading recently The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, he talks about this guy, so that's why I researched this guy from I don't know when,
Yep.
and for some reason I thought it was because of that, but it is not.
A lot of people think it's some mystic Eastern religion connection,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's
that's
actually
what I thought.
my initials. So maybe I should go with that one, but I think that'd be
Yeah, that's right.
scamming too much.
Yeah, no worries, man. So, all right. So we were talking just now that you're gonna release a new single, right? You've been. I know that you've been recording is it 12 songs?
We were actually recorded. We put down 14 in the end. So we
Oh
had 14
wow.
ready.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so we
great.
had 14 ready to go. So we just put them all down while we were doing it. I released Shine November last year. Just around the time we did that Eco Expo festival thing in Sydney.
In November, yeah.
Yeah, and then this single, Love Strikes, is coming out today. So today's the release date, and that's available now on my website and should be through iTunes and all those places.
Oh, that's great. So anybody can go on iTunes today, like probably later in the next couple of hours to download it, right?
Yeah, it should be ready there on iTunes. I put it through cdbaby.com and they distribute to everybody else. So it's available on cdbaby.com, definitely. It's available on my website for download, or you can buy the CD. And,
all right, that's great. And how long have you been playing, Dr. Taos?
I started when I was a kid. I started learning classical when I was about 8, and then I got sidetracked into blues and rock and roll and all of those sorts of things. That, unfortunately, I gave up the classical, which I wish I'd kind of kept going with now.
Yeah.
Now I'm a bit more sensible. Well, maybe. So I got sort of stuck into the blues and the rock stuff, and then it just went from there. And I started playing in bands probably around about early high school. Some guys knew I played guitar and came up and asked me to join their band. So that happened during high school, and started writing around about that time. And then the next band I was playing in, we started just doing a lot of original stuff, and it just kept going from there. Yeah,
and when you say classical, what sort of instruments were you playing when you started?
No, I was playing classical guitar back then. Yeah, when I started.
Nice.
Yeah, I wish I kept that. And I found out later the teacher I had was one of the most famous jazz guitarists in Sydney at the time. He used to teach at the Con, and now I know that. I thought, well, he was a good teacher. I should have stuck with
it. So you said that you started like playing more like rock and roll. Who actually like showed you this sort of music back then?
All the guys I was with at school were into listening to rock. We used to listen to a lot of back then, sort of Zeppelin and Purple and all of those sort of bands, Free and all of that sort of stuff. Yeah, sort of jazz and stuff like that. My dad was a big jazz fan. Or he still is a big jazz fan. So, you know, at home there was always jazz playing, and so I heard a lot of jazz, and my grandfather used to play banjo and organ and stuff, so it kind of trickled down a little bit, I guess. And then the guys at school, the guys I was playing with, you know, they were listening to a lot of different music, and a lot of them had older brothers and cousins, so we got into a lot of other stuff as well, because we, you know, the older brothers and cousins were sort of shooting us their stuff. So yeah, it was good exposure.
That's very cool. And which was the band that really influenced you back then?
I really loved Paul Kossoff's guitar in Free. He had quite a different style to a lot of other guitarists at the time. I mean, it was basically blues rock. I love Zeppelin. I must have watched The Song Remains the Same, that live album, a million times growing up. Yeah, and so I guess a lot of that stuff back then, you know, was Hendrix, Eric Clapton, Cream. Then Eric Clapton went on his own, and then and then it just sort of led from there. You know, I guess the Beatles, the Stones, all of those sort of, you know, 70s bands. And then sort of some bit more left of center bands like Spirit, and some of the offshoots from Free, I guess. And then started to get a bit more into, I guess, punk started, and I got right into that. And then new wave and all of that sort of stuff. And I guess I was always into the guitar-based stuff as opposed to the electronic synthetic stuff, which was kind of happening as well.
And what about because you sing as well and you write your own songs, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I never was a singer, actually. I was always a guitarist, and I always used to get other people to sing in my bands. And it got to a point where I was always having trouble getting a singer that was sort of reliable. The last band I was in, Turpentine, the singer was awesome. I mean, he was a cross between Iggy Pop and Mick Jagger, I guess. Great frontman, and he had a great vocal style. So that band was doing all right for a while. We put out a few CDs and toured, you know, east coast of Australia, Brisbane, Melbourne, and Sydney and stuff, and up and down the coast. And so that was, he was an amazing dude. And then that sort of fell apart because the bass player went over to Germany. He was into prog metal, and went over to Germany, and he was playing over there. So when that started, when he left, we were still halfway through an album, and so I had all this acoustic stuff that I'd been sitting around with that didn't really fit with the rock band's sort of scenario. So I just started doing that, and people kept offering me gigs, and because I didn't have a singer, I just started singing myself. So I just kind of went from there. So I never really think of myself as a singer. I always think of myself as a guitarist.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I guess that's, you know, kind of where it ended up.
And how long have you been doing it like that?
Sort of that first album I did, which technically was going to be a demo. We just recorded that, pretty much all the drums and bass in a weekend. And then I just laid the guitars over the top pretty quickly and then did the vocals. That came out in 2008. So I guess probably started doing that about a year before that, 2007, maybe even 2006. Because Turpentine was still going 2006, I think. So yeah, I guess that's probably when it was.
And is this your first album?
No, this will be the second album that's coming out now. So the first album was Darkness and Light, and that came out under the name of Taos. And then I've done a couple of singles. I did an EP before the Taos album, Darkness and Light. And then this new album, which will be coming out later this year, will be, I guess, the second album for me, as a solo artist.
And what would be the difference between this album and the previous one?
Previous album was pretty rough and ready. As I said, we recorded it in pretty much all the drums and bass in a weekend, and then we did, you know, I just laid in guitars and vocals. I still hadn't really learned how to sing properly then, so that was pretty rough. This album I've been writing since then, and then I went through a bunch of bass players and drummers and stuff, so it sort of got strung out, which is probably why we ended up with 14 songs, because by the time we got to recording it, I'd been writing more and more and more. And I had a bunch more stuff, but it just ended up being those were the songs that we managed to get up to scratch by the time I wanted to get into the studio. So yeah, this will be the second album. We've just started. We just had a rehearsal the other day and started working on some new stuff again. So I'm hoping by the time I get this out, and hopefully by the end of this year, I'll have a bunch more stuff recorded. So maybe a new album next year, or shortly after that. So that'll be
That's
pretty
great,
cool.
man.
Yeah,
That's
while the music's there, we might as well keep it coming.
Yeah, why not, eh?
Yeah, that's it.
And what about the lyrics? Do you normally like write about the same stuff? Like I know like a lot of songwriters. I'm a songwriter as well, and we normally tend to take the writing about love, but then we just get over that phase, and then we start kind of like writing stuff that are important in the moment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
at this moment, I don't know. What are you into?
The songs, I don't know. So a lot of the songs just come, so I can't really control it sometimes. And I mean, sometimes I'll try and sit down and write about something, but often it's just something that comes to me. So I mean, sometimes it might be something that's happening in the news, or in the world, something's going on. So the songs there about people destroying the world and all of that sort of stuff. So I guess they're more the environmentally conscious ones. There's a song on the album called Forever Tomorrow, which I remember I was watching some news stuff a long time ago with what was going on in, so I guess that was Yugoslavia back then, which is now Serbia and Croatia. And the guy who was in charge of all of that, Slobodan Milosevic. And I just remember seeing mass graves and all of that sort of stuff. So that really, when stuff like that hits home, sometimes the song just comes out of it. There's songs about a guy who lost a few friends, a few people through suicide, so there's stuff like that. And then, of course, there's some lighter stuff, sunny days, and as you say, the old standard love songs. Sometimes they just pop out, and rather than saying, I'm not going to write a love song, that's so corny, I'm not going to do it, I just went with it. So that latest single is kind of a love song. It's about a guy, that he was living in the country and he was in love with a girl, and he was too gutless or scared or too macho to say anything, and then she went and moved away, and he realised what a mistake he made, so he went and chased her down.
Is that kind of an autobiography?
No, everybody always says that, people always go, oh, is that about you? And I go, no, I tend to write about other people, actually. I guess I might write it in the first person, but it's not about me personally. It's about something else or somebody else. Sometimes it's imagined, sometimes it's real, and yeah, as I said, so sometimes, there's the love songs, there's the songs about things being great, like Shine was about, sunny days and the simple things in life that make it all worthwhile sort of things. And then some of them are pretty sad and depressing, so you get the full range, man.
Oh, that's great. And everything and all of that is included in your new album, right? You speak about all these different topics.
Yeah, you'll get all of those. So I'll be picking up the last couple of mixes probably this week, and then we're just going to go back into the studio, tweak them up a little bit. The guy who produces my stuff, Simon Tonks, is really he's an amazing producer. So we work together on that, and I'll get that tweaked probably in a few more weeks, and then it'll be off to mastering hopefully by the end of May, I'm guessing, maybe early June, and hopefully have it ready sort of, I'm hoping by the end of July, early August would be good. Yeah.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
And some people, like some musicians, find like the recording process a little bit tedious, but there are some other people like me who really enjoy that process, that the creative process of an album. What kind of people are you?
I really like working with the other guys on it. A lot of people say to me, "Oh, why don't you just do it all yourself? Like, why don't you just program the drums and play the bass yourself?" Because I play bass and stuff. And I tend to think that it becomes a bit too singular if I do that. Whereas if I do it with the other guys, they all have their input, and when other people have input, it tends to become, the sum of the parts sort of thing. And I find the songs really take off a lot more. And other guys bring stuff to the table that I might not have thought of. The bass player I've got at the moment, Eric Baker, he's pretty amazing like that. He comes up with some really cool bass lines, and there's no way I would have thought of that bass line,
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree.
my drummer's an amazing dude. He's studying percussion at the con, He's writing film sounds at the moment, and he's basically a percussionist, which is really cool because rather than playing a straight drum track, you know, he comes up with all sorts of left to center stuff, and so some of the tracks are going to have more percussion kind of stuff behind them than a drum kit, you know, which
Yeah, that's great.
So with the actual recording, when I'm actually in the studio, yeah, it's intense, you know. It's people always say to me, "Oh, yeah, you got a day off from your day job, man. It must be really cool just sitting around in the studio." But I mean, as you know, being a recording artist, it gets pretty intense when you're, you know, committing total concentration for like, you know, 3 to 8 hours or however long you're in there for. And I guess a lot of musicians find that, you know, I get home and I'm drained, and people say, "Oh man, you know, you had the day off, man. You should be chilled." And I'm going, "Yeah, you don't know what it's like."
Totally true, man. And what's your plan now? Like, well, before I ask you about that, this new album is gonna be kind of rock and roll. Are you adding anything new in your previous album?
Sorry, I lost you there, man. You cracked up. What was that? Am I adding what?
Yeah, are you adding different sounds to this to your songs in this album, or are you just like kind of like doing the same that you did in the previous one?
The last album, I did add extra stuff on. There's a couple of tracks there with some sax and some keyboards and piano and flute and stuff. So this one I've done the same sort of thing. So most of my stuff's basically it's acoustic based to start with. So I use the acoustic guitar as the basic ideas, and then I start a lot of them. I've added, you know, electric guitar. Some of them evolved to become more rock songs, so they ended up with the electric guitars on them. So, you know, some of them I've got both. I've got an acoustic guitar featuring, and then a little bit of electric guitar comes in when it gets a bit heavier or the chorus kicks in and stuff like that. I got Susie Bishop, who's a Sydney muso. She's a violinist. She's an amazing lady. She came and played some violin on some tracks. And I've got Neil Rawle, who plays around Sydney a bit, playing keyboards on a few tracks. Mitch, my drummer, he can play keyboards too, and so he programmed in some strings on a couple of tracks. And then we got another friend of mine who used to play in ska bands a long time ago. He plays horn, so he came and played trumpet he played on Shine. And yeah, so, you know, there's a bit of extra stuff going on in a lot of the tracks. It's not just me and a guitar sort of thing, which is probably a good idea.
And you're gonna start touring with these other people?
I will play with the three-piece. The three-piece is the core.
Yeah.
Susie's involved in 2 or 3 other bands. Lately, she's been traveling over South America because she's in with Tangalolo or something it's called. They're a tango band. So they've been they got a contract over in Argentina, because I believe tango is really big over there. You might know more about that than me. And sorry.
Not really.
So
it's only in Argentina. Yeah.
I know South America's a big place. And yeah, Morty might come and play horn with me, I guess, when we play live. What I'd like to do is for the album launch is maybe, you know, do a gig at somewhere like the Basement or the Vanguard or something like that, and try and get them all in for the one show. I think it's going to be pretty hard to coordinate all the different people together. And when they're actually all going to be free at the same time, you know, that's what always happens with all the musos is, you know, Susie, as she said, she's playing with 3 different bands. So, you know, plus her and her sister have got their own project. So she's always got stuff on. You know, trying to nail her down even just for the session was pretty hard. I had to plan it like 3 months in ahead. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, you know. Yeah, it would be good, though. It would be really cool.
And what keeps you going? Like, you know, like right now the music industry is pretty, you know, it's pretty hard, and I'm sure they're, you know, like writing songs, but there are a lot of musicians. They write their own songs and pretty much like in isolation, and then they don't do anything with that. But you have taken the next step. You actually went into a recording studio, and you're investing a lot of time for you to create this thing and start touring around. Even though the music industry, it is not, well, I don't think it was easy, you know, not even in the past. But what are your thoughts about that, the music industry, and what keeps you like playing?
Yeah, I just have to play. I can't not. If like if I go somewhere and I don't take a guitar with me for a couple of weeks, I start getting a bit frustrated. I just yeah, I guess it's an outlet for me, to play music, and then to write songs. It's kind of also an outlet, to get rid of those emotions.
Yeah.
And, if you're really depressed, it's a great way to sort of make yourself feel better. Go and play guitar for a couple of hours and maybe even write a song and get it out of your system, rather than just sitting there and drinking and getting depressed and taking pills or whatever people might do. So, and if you're feeling good, people always say, why do you write so many depressing songs? Because when you're feeling happy, you're having a good time. You just want to get out there and enjoy things. When you're feeling depressed, when you retreat to the couch and grab the guitar and pick it up. And when something happens in your life that's really affects you, it's a good way to get it out of your system. So I just keep doing it. And why don't I just stay in my lounge room and just play it? I don't know. I enjoy playing live. It's fun. I enjoy playing live, especially with other people. You should do that collaborative effort. I really enjoy going to the gigs, especially with other songwriters. Like when, you've come to the songwriter nights, you get to hear other people's gear. Like last time you came along and you had some really good songs, which you've been working on, and just hearing that sort of stuff. It's great to see other people out there doing it and putting their stuff out there. And when you go to those songwriter nights, as you can see 5 or 6 completely different artists with very different stuff.
That's what I love about that.
Good.
Yeah.
And it's great, rather than going to see 3 bands that are all sounding the same, to see 3, 5, whatever songwriters all doing different stuff, mixing it up. But sometimes it ends up being a jam session, and you'll get guys, a country dude and a pop dude and a blues dude, and they're all getting up there together and mixing it up. It's great.
Yeah, totally. I agree with you. Well, that's great. So I think this is it. Thank you for sharing all your stories with me, and with the people who are gonna watch this video. And good luck with your new single. And do you mind just sharing that link with me as well, so we can put it on the website?
Sure. Yeah. Just another thing while we're here is next year I'm hoping to head over to Europe, probably January, February. Hopefully going to be playing around England, Ireland, Czechoslovakia, Germany, and sorry, I shouldn't say Czechoslovakia anymore. Czech Republic. I got myself in way loads of trouble. The Czech Republic and Poland. Yeah, Czech Republic, Poland, Germany, and maybe even Paris. So that'll be happening early in the new year. So I'm going to take the album with me over there as well and push that. I'm lining up some gigs at the moment, so that should be cool.
That is great, man. So that's going to be a couple of months or 1-2 months?
Yeah, a couple of months. I'll probably head over there early January, and so it'll be January, February, March, April. I'll probably get back here mid-April, I guess. Yeah, depending on how much work I can get, how many gigs we can do, and all of that sort of stuff. So it should be a really cool time.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah. So my website, it's just Dr Taos, DRTAOS.com. And you can find up there, all my info's there, and all my songs are up there.
Have any other, social sites or they can follow you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter. It's all the same. It's all Dr Taos. But if you go to my website, the links are there to like Twitter, Facebook. Yeah, it's all there for everybody to check it out. And you can contact me through the website and email me or whatever you want to do. And you can buy songs there if you really want. They're pretty cheap. I usually have them up, about $1 a song, something like that. So it's cheaper than iTunes, but yeah, it's basically just so people can have it. That's why I like it.
Yeah, totally. All right, Dr. Taos, thank you very much. And I think I will see you very, very soon.
Hopefully, yeah, we'll catch up soon and share a beer and some songs. Cool, thanks, Otto. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Yes, mate. Bye-bye.